So, we made it across the border. We're in Brodia territory now.
The landscape here, it's so different from Firene. Nothing but rugged terrain all around us.
Watch out! We're under attack?
Name yourselves!
I would make the same request of you. After all, you are the one sneaking over our border. Identify yourselves, or I will assume you are thieves. This time, I won't miss.
I'm the Divine Dragon from Lethos, not a thief.
I am Alfred, the heir to the throne of Firene, and your ally.
The Divine Dragon and the Crown Prince of Firene?
That's right. Now I would like to know, who are you to shoot at us like that?
I am so sorry!
Huh?
I threatened the Divine Dragon and the Crown Prince of Firene. I'm begging, please find it in your hearts to forgive me!
It's all right. No harm was done.
That was quite the bow, soldier. Must have been hard on the knees. Wait a second. Your face looks awfully familiar. You're not just a soldier, are you?
No, I'm Alcryst, second Prince of Brodia.
Prince?
I thought so. How's it going, Prince Alcryst?
Even worse than usual. I'm sorry for taking so long to introduce myself. Oh, these are my retainers, Lapis and Citrinne.
Honored to meet you and your coterie.
Yeah, welcome to Brodia. I can't say I feel very welcome. You still look like you're ready to kill us.
We're merely a little tense. My father, King Morian, received word from Queen Ev that your party was on its way. He ordered us to meet you at the border and formally welcome you to the kingdom. We've been waiting for a long time, and all we encountered were bizarre creatures or bandits. We assumed you were more of the same.
I'm sorry for the delay. We had to take a little detour. Still, if your arrow hit the Divine One, Brodia's standing would have been seriously hurt. Be more careful next time, Prince Alcryst.
I will. I really am sorry.
You cannot be held liable, Alcryst. You had no way of knowing who they were. Was it not possible for your party to arrive in a more royal, more resplendent manner?
This is the Kingdom of Warriors. If you can't dodge one arrow, you're not worthy to enter. Here, the weak serve the strong. Maybe we should give you a little test.
What did you say?
She didn't mean that. Apologies. My country places too much value on strength. Besides, you have nothing to prove. I am well aware of your battle prowess, Prince Alfred.
Oh, well, thank you.
I am so sorry for all this. So sorry. And I'm sorry it's me greeting you instead of someone better.
You can stop apologizing. I'm grateful that a prince is here to receive us personally.
Really? You're grateful to see me?
Yes. Honored, in fact.
How polite of you to say so. Charming as well as divine, I see. Could you do me the favor of being less dazzling? I find it so hard to shine as it is.
All right.
Now, come with me. I can show you the way to Brodia Castle. We will arrive at the Grand Crossing soon. That will take us to the castle.
Good.
Divine One, if I may. I was wondering about something Queen Ev said in her letter. Is it true that Elusia has released Sombron?
It's true. An Illusian we fought told us as much.
I see. We'd heard rumors to that effect, but I didn't dare believe them. Those neighbors of ours. You will need all the rings to defeat the Fell Dragon, right? For generations, my country has possessed the Ring of the Young Lion.
The Ring of the Young Lion.
It has a red stone and a certain gallant aura. Diamant, the crown prince, told me he's been hearing a voice from the ring. He's a remarkable person. I'm lucky to be his brother.
You really admire him, don't you?
Oh, yes. He's strong, wise, humble. The king adores him, as do our people. My brother is cut from the noblest cloth. I'm afraid I was made from the tatters.
There's no need to be so hard on yourself.
Ah, there it is. The Grand Crossing. There seem to be a great many soldiers out today. Wait a moment. Those are... Illusion soldiers. They're occupying the bridge.
No.
Finally! It took you long enough. Very rude to keep a princess waiting. Very rude indeed.
Princess?
That would be me. The second princess of Illusia, Hortensia! Now then, hello, everybody!
Illusia's second princess?
Uh-huh, in the flesh. And you're the divine dragon.
Right.
Ew, I knew it! I could totally tell. You're the prettiest. It's a dead giveaway. I always thought Lumera was the only divine dragon. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I found out there was another one. Wow, those mismatched eyes of yours are something to see.
Don't come any closer. You wicked Illusians aren't worthy to approach the divine dragon.
Huh, nobody asked you, Brodian. Besides, we're not the wicked ones, you are. My father says Brodia is a greedy, barbaric country. You're always invading our territory, taking our land. It's the worst. Do you know how many people you've hurt? Not just soldiers, but regular people.
We're not just invading to expand. We are keeping your vicious, unpredictable kingdom in check. I take it you're retaliating? Launching a full-scale invasion to take your revenge?
Hardly. I couldn't lead such an ambitious attack. I'm just here to take your rings. By order of my father, King Hyacinth.
He told you to do this?
Yep. Now, if there are no more questions, fork over the goods and we'll all go home breathing.
Never.
Aw, I thought nabbing your rings would be the easy job. Lucky big sis getting to attack the castle instead.
The crown princess? She's going to attack Brodia Castle?
Oops. Probably shouldn't have said that.
We must go right away.
Huh, as if I'd let you pass. My father's gonna be so proud of me. All Illusion soldiers, forward march! Get me those rings!
Welcome to Brodia. It's been a while since we got a new royal and the fun character introductions that come with them, and Alcryst is a personal favorite. In fact, make that 2 royal introductions. We face an illusion princess, backed by 2 retainers and an emblem of her own. The map itself evokes several classics from Fire Emblem history. We're on one side of a bridge, we'd like to get to the other, and there's a lot in our way. Like Chapter 3, defensive fortifications split our army and funnel us to the edges, where enemy flyers can pick off our frail units if we aren't careful. Once we get to the boss, problems abound. Boss Squad is coded to advance together, you can't divide and conquer. Maddening adds Veteran Plus to every boss, so they have no bow weakness. Without effective damage, most teams stand no shot at dealing with Hortensia's health bars and her powerful promoted Veteran Plus retainers, Rosado and Goldmary, in a single player phase. That's okay, you don't need to defeat her retainers to beat the map. As long as you can beat Hortensia in one turn with your whole team, using the normal chain attack and engage attack playbook, you can just bait her group forward and then finish the map before Rosado or Goldmary can one-round a frail unit. You don't have to let Hortensia come to you though. There's a clear this chapter by Zoran, which I'll make a point of linking because it's one of the inspirations for doing this series, that's much cooler. You see, there's a tantalizing near override. Hortensia is 1 square out of line with her squad. On this map, we gain access to smash weapons, which push enemies back a single space when you attack them. You might see where I'm going. It's just barely possible to get ready outside Hortensia's range, send Vander in to move Hortensia flush with her squad, and perform one of the best overrides in the game. Rather counterintuitively, you have to defeat everyone except Hortensia on that turn in his clear. She's coded to always use her Engage attack, which deals rather pitiful damage. If you know that quirk of the AI, you can safely ignore her health bars until she's the only enemy left on the map. There's no way I'm not doing that awesome override in this video. It's literally one of my touchstones for this series' identity. The problem is how to put my own twist on the concept. Since I've lauded Zoran plenty, I'll be so bold as to nitpick his clear. Taking an extra turn where Hortensia, the only unit left on the map, passes up obvious kills so she can use an Engage attack built around having allies isn't ideal. I'd rather blitz all of Rosado, Goldberry, and Hortensia in a single player phase. Zoran's a skilled tactician. It's not like he left Hortensia for kicks. Vander weakens Hortensia, and the override can take out that HP bar. That still leaves a full HP bar, and now she's one square further away. Warp Ragnarok won't do much against her resistance, and then you're literally out of generic ways to even damage her. Some specific team setups might be able to finish her off, say with Bow Knight Etier, but it's the kind of clear you have to pan your entire early game around. Good luck beating Rosado and Goldberry too. Even if you had such a team, it would only accentuate the other problem. Your hit rates are pretty dire, you don't have that much room for reordering, and you've probably used a few rewinds already after playing a relatively challenging map. I don't want to show clears that carry a significant risk of requiring a full reset, and that's definitely possible if you get unlucky near the end after using rewinds to reach Hortensia. This is where I've chosen to spend my only dexterity and luck tonics until after Chapter 8, so I've suffered for this clear before we even arrived in Brodia. Boucheron, how could you? You see what?
Is this... No.
Long story short, I haven't found any tactics Zoran missed to improve on his clear. I may not have the Fire Emblem skill he does, but I have something stronger. $20 and no compunctions about using it. With the DLC 3 Houses bracelet, which has been sitting in storage since after Chapter 6, it's possible to route the map without ever letting Hortensia move. Next chapter's back to no DLC, so we're not using anything else from the DLC yet. I've refrained from using the DLC so far because I want people to have a guide to follow in the early game, regardless of whether they have it. But hey, just watch his video. Most of our clears don't mix and match well, but that one works in my sequencing. So that's the map. What's our team doing? Unlike the few easier maps before this one, most of my emblem choices are somewhat forced, and you'll see why as I play. There's one exception, Anna with Micaiah. I want to talk about her training arc now, before it's over. You see, there's been a lot of discussion about Anna's place in the metagame, and many people seem to labor under the false impression that training Anna requires playing slowly or hogging Micaiah forever. I've seen tier lists ostensibly for a normal pace of play that have her dead last, as if she's a charity case. Let's actually do the math. Anna joined us at level 5 after Chapter 6, and she needs to get to level 10 to promote. That's 500 XP. Anna's only good when she reclasses with the second seal, available after Chapter 8. Anna gets 11 XP per heal with Great Sacrifice and 16 per mend. A perfect Great Sacrifice healing 11 people would get 121 XP. Even with a few lower level units, hitting the 100 XP cap is certainly possible. A perfect 5-person mend gives 80 XP. That means the ideal 7 turns, mend, Great Sacrifice, Energy Tile, repeat. Nets 520 XP. If you have 48 hours with nothing else to do but plan and reset when units dodge, I'm sure you can get 500 XP on just this map. That's not going to happen in anything approaching normal play though. With standard arena training giving 30 XP a map, or the lineage skill from the DLC giving a 20% boost, it's not impossible to train Anna in a single map, but I wouldn't enjoy doing it. The real question is what proportion of this theoretical maximum is a reasonable target? Is 2 maps doable for an experienced player who isn't resetting every time someone dodges an attack? What about 3 maps? This is where discussion tends to stall out. If someone says promoting Anna requires grinding, isn't especially convincing. To really make my point, I'd have to document a playthrough where Anna promotes in 2 maps, while playing quickly and going for fun side objectives like, I don't know, defeating Rosado and Goldberry. I'd need to spend dozens of hours planning, recording, scripting, commentating, and editing videos, showing what I did and why. You'd need a few screws loose to do all that just to prove some rando and game facts wrong, right? Okay, so I'm not doing this series entirely as Anna propaganda. It's not Anna propaganda, though. If you're playing Engage not out of spite, but to have fun, saying it out loud doesn't sound like such a bad idea. I don't expect you to play through maps more than once to refine things like Micaiah XP. I'm getting Anna a fair bit past level 10, so you have a little leeway following my schedule, but I wanted to build in even more. That's where my chosen ordering of chapters matters. You see, Anna can't become a mage until after chapter 8. I'm doing all this work just to bench her next map. I would definitely recommend you allot chapter 7 and 8 for Anna training if you want to get her promoted without any stress. I've replaced chapter 8 with Jean's Paralogue, which I beat in 3 turns just to give Anna as little time as possible. If you replace that training with chapter 8, a much better map for Micaiah, you have hundreds of XP as a buffer for differences between my play and yours. You can also play skirmish maps, give her standard arena XP after chapter 7 and 8, and use the DLC's lineage. If I can do it in 2 maps, you can too. Take that, haters. This video's what I've been building up to throughout the entire early game. We're going to get Anna past level 10, execute one of the prettiest geometric motifs I've seen in years of Fire Emblem, and route a challenging map with tons of randomness, all in 7 turns. If I may say so, I'm quite happy with how it's come together. I hope you enjoy.
We must deal with them quickly and return to the castle. There's not a moment to spare.
Of course, Prince Alcryst. Leave it to us.
I wager we'll be back in time for dinner.
Such confidence. But I'm still concerned about casualties. I will protect you both.
So brave. But, as your retainers, it's really our job to protect you.
Now then, get behind me.
Huh? Oh, Alcryst, don't be ridiculous. You're an archer. You should be at the rear.
Hang on! Citrinne! You should also be in the back! You two...
Looks like it's starting. To your positions, everyone.
Oh, the Divine Dragon is absolutely...
Absolutely not as cute as we are?
Right, exactly.
That's the spirit. Outshine the enemy, and then defeat them. Now, let's steal those rings and do Hortensia proud. Ready to start?
Yes, Rosado. Let's make quick work of them.
The 3 Houses bracelet is the only DLC emblem that you don't need to play a difficult Divine Paralogue map for, and they're arguably the best of them all. It's almost like they're motivating you to play Tiki's Paralogue by dangling more emblems like this one. Also, this doesn't fit anywhere else, but I think the way this bracelet translates effects from 3 Houses into a very different engine is brilliant. Tons of fun references for that large fanbase. Their bonuses fill a valuable niche in the metagame. They're one of the only great strength boosting emblems. Fast physical units like Physical Alir and Chloe love the boosts, and slow units like Louis can also make use of them by just giving up on doubling. Instead of focusing on enemy phase combat with that defense boost, the bonuses push you towards player phase in an interesting way. Every turn, a random house leader takes point. The active leader determines which of 3 gambits the units can use. Edelgard's attacks and light squares on fire, Dimitri's nullifies the first range attack each attacker makes an enemy phase, and Claude's attacks and poisons foes around the target square. The highlight here, without any doubt, is Dimitri's shield gambit, which you can use to bait enemies. It's hard to plan around these, of course, but worth thinking about when you have the option. You won't see the different gambits in this series often, but that's just a limitation of highly choreographing my runs. I need to be able to rehearse, and coming up with contingencies for which leader I have is way beyond me. They're quite useful if you're able to plan on the fly. The house leader in front is also important for weapon sync. When using a weapon type that matches the emblem on player phase, Edelgard has axes, Dimitri lances, Claude bows. This gives a +5 and then +7 boost to might. While engaged, the bonus is unconditional. Random player phase boosts, as we'll discuss in a moment, aren't the foundation of an easy Maddening run. Nonetheless, the guaranteed boost while engaged is amazing. You can use the combat arts each leader had in their game, tied to their Engage weapon, because weapon durability isn't a thing in Engage. Instead of spending weapon uses, you spend Engage meter turns. Raging Storm lets you move again after attacking with Amir. The price is 3 Engage turns instead of just 1. Amir is a heavy smash weapon with awful hit, which does put a damper on things, but a second action is absurdly strong. It's hard to argue there's a better use for your hit crystals. Isn't it insane that Amir had no such limitation in 3 houses and Raging Storm could be used more than once? Atrocity uses Aridfar, which already has plus 50% might on player phase. Atrocity doubles that might. Think of it as being effective against everything. It's useful for one-rounding powerful enemies with high defenses, and it can double unlike its 3 houses counterpart. Fallen Star uses Fail Not, a fantastic 2-3 range bow, and makes the user unable to be hit during the next round of combat on enemy phase. It can be used to bait dangerous enemies, or just use Fail Not before bond level 15. The Engage meter depletion isn't always bad. You can only use energy tiles or favorite food when you fully exhaust the Engage meter, so sometimes it helps you route that out. You always need to spend 1 turn not engaged, but if you realize you want to recharge, you can often Raging Storm just to exhaust the meter. The Engage attack houses Unite, strikes with all 3 weapons at 50% power. Unlike Lodestar Rush's 7 times 30% damage, the rounding here is much more favorable, so it's often also a 150% multiplier on damage boosts like Divinely Inspiring. Lineage is the only thing I haven't covered. It's worse than it sounds, because it essentially means units just plateau half a level higher. It isn't enough to counteract the reduced XP from gaining a level. When inherited on a training project, it can help units catch up quickly, but on your 3 houses user it's barely noticeable. Putting all this together, what do we get? The 3 houses bracelet gives great physical stat boosts, but lacks enemy phase skills, speed, or 1-2 range options. That means the ceiling of 3 houses isn't quite as high as the very best emblems, who turn your great units into world-beating juggernauts. Instead, the 3 houses bracelet carries any physical unit to a solid baseline of player phase competence. If you take a unit who's fast or strong but not both, like Physical Clan or Etier, as a Wyvern or a Warrior with 3 houses, it'll be a mobile powerhouse. Consider giving them to a unit you want to deploy who would otherwise struggle to earn their roster spot. They're great on the best units too, don't get me wrong, but they aren't multiplying the effectiveness of your elite fighters as much as the other emblems. They'll do the most for your team when taking a unit from bad to good. In that context, they're super fun and mechanically interesting. I'm going to be quite happy to deploy them more in the future. Raging Storm's the reason this works. It lets us use a retainer to boost our movement and reach Hortensia after Vander moves her back. Now, let's talk about the new units. Alcryst is our first Brodian unit. We've gone from a floral theme to gems and crystals. I'm a sucker for Brodia. Maybe it's that my day job involves research on crystals, but I'm just a fan of the units we find here. Alcryst is quite the interesting unit to introduce us to the region. His royal class line is bow-locked, which basically precludes any competent enemy phase combat on most maps. He's not made of glass, and can take a tome or javelin hit better than Etier, but that's not his calling. His personal ability unsubtly reinforces this. Alcryst is supposed to be a tile or 2 behind the front lines. His dynamic with Lapis is nice story gameplay integration. Lapis can bait units and set them up for Alcryst to attack, and the personals help you out when doing that. Plus, you can ship them. He has exceptional dexterity in his personal class line, so he'll accurately mow down evasive flyers as the game goes on. That's useful utility and something many teams need. You can easily have Alcryst replace Etier and put in work just like she has, even if you don't plan to deploy him once you get another archer. That's not the most exciting niche, though. Anyone with a bow can do that. What can Alcryst do if you have higher hopes for him than just holding a bow? At first, the answer seems to be not much. In terms of stats, he's maybe a tad behind a sniper Alir. That's definitely not the class Alir wants to be in, and Alcryst struggles to do better. He has merely okay strength and speed and poor bulk. With a terrible enemy phase on top of that, it seems Alcryst's self-esteem problem is warranted. How could he stack up against his confident, charismatic brother, who has better stats and 1-2 range? Well, in his supports, it takes a while for Alcryst to appreciate his own worth. He's not worse, just different. That's a hint to you that Alcryst isn't trying to be a typical good Fire Emblem unit like his big bro. What can we do instead? Roll the dice and win big, baby! Alcryst's Royal class skill, Luna, has a dex % chance to ignore half of enemy defense. With sky-high dex, Alcryst has the highest proc rates of any such skill. He also has exceptional crit rates throughout the game, especially once you get engraves and weapons to support a crit build. 3 damage can become 13 damage with Luna and 39 damage with a crit. There aren't many enemies Alcryst can't kill, just lots of enemies he doesn't. Because he's attacking from 2 range, you normally aren't relying on him to kill enemies to avoid taking counterattacks. Give him a killer bow or brave bow and see what happens. 90% of Alcryst users stop right before they 1 round of Voss. Unfortunately, I can't say investing in Alcryst is a good way to sail through maddening, any more than investing in DraftKings parlays is a good way to retire early. It can be fun, don't get me wrong, but I'd try to build Alcryst so he doesn't always need luck to bail him out. One popular option is giving him Lyn, an emblem we'll get in a few maps. She uses bows, which makes sense with Alcryst, and with her speed he'll easily double. The real selling point is her engage attack, Astra Storm. It has 5 independent chances to activate Luna, and with Alcryst it has 20 range. This works really well, but once you try other units with Lyn, you realize that it's Lyn carrying Alcryst and not Alcryst carrying Lyn. Alcryst is actually fairly mediocre by her standards. You can't put her fantastic speed to use on enemy phase. To me, the best selling point of Alcryst is how well he works without those top shelf resources, so I'd lead into that. Alcryst has reasonable speed, and he's able to shoot for doubling with a brave bow. It helps a lot that he doesn't need to worry about doubling flyers, 1 hit's more than good enough there. Then Alcryst can do a different take on the Martial Master Erica build I talked about with Fram, with Lunar Brace adding flat damage to each attack, his own personal, and maybe something special like Divinely Inspiring or Weapon Sync. You can get guaranteed kills against a fair few enemies from a big damage stack. When he can't get a guaranteed kill, you get 4 independent chances to crit or Luna, which often ends up being close to reliable anyway. You can take Erica's ring if no one else wants her, and while engaged he'll get extra flat damage, but he doesn't need the emblem if he inherits Lunar Brace. Few emblemless units can manage better. The game does let you reclass Alcryst. I wouldn't normally recommend doing so though. That's not because Tireur d'Elite is some amazing class. Warrior has better stats and axes. Rather, it's that Alcryst is competent but unexceptional in other classes. In his own class, he's competent and exceptional. You can always mix it up, but I'd do that on my 3rd playthrough with Alcryst, and not my 1st. Alcryst feels like the best unit in the game when he's doing backflips. That's the crit animation you have to look forward to, and 1-rounding foes left and right. He's not, as much as that pains me to say. Trying to actually make him the best unit on your team tends to make your life difficult. He uses the game's premier resources poorly. Conversely, he's great at doing more with less. He'll always have flyers to terrorize, and with just a little love, he'll be able to deal with many other units too. And hey, every so often, fortune favors him. The tier list flies out the window. Alcryst, the middling wallflower, does 111 damage in a single hit to some poor paladin he wasn't even supposed to 1-round. Doesn't that sound like fun? Lapis is the first speedster we've gotten since Chloe, as one of the only other characters tied with her for the highest speed growth in the game. She's very fast, has mysteriously low strength besides canonically wrestling bears, and pretty decent dexterity and bulk. Some discussions of Engage invoke the Lapis test. If a unit isn't comparable to or better than Lapis at a given level, they're probably not good enough to make physical combat work in the mid and late game. I think that's a pretty fair characterization of her overall ability. I don't think that's a useful framework to talk about units in a game with so many resources to allocate. She's where most characters are in Engage. Not so good you're compelled to use her, but not bad enough she can't be a great unit with some love. The better question is what we can do to maximize her with different levels of investment. If you give her a lot to work with, one of the precious few great physical emblems like Roy, a great forge, the energy drop Jean's Paralogue gave us, a reclass to something like Wyvern or Wolf Knight, and experience, she can certainly snowball into a fantastic unit. With enough help, her offense is quite respectable. Many people dunk on her build, which is fair, but it's better to have high speed and low build than the reverse. The advantage physical units have over mages is a bigger pool of weaponry. Lapis can tailor her speed to exactly double whoever she's facing. Her bulk isn't amazing, but combined with her great speed, she's surprisingly durable. Her personal ability is one of the best in the game. With it active, she has some of the game's best avoid rates, and is right up there in hit rates too. She may not get a lot of kills on maddening, but you can definitely have Lapis on the front lines doing a lot of work for your army. similarly to how we're using Alfred now. Her avoid is kind of like Alcryst's crit, but for defense. You'd rather have a unit that could just face tank what Lapis needs luck to survive. I'm not going to recommend you constantly risk her dying from an enemy hitting a 25% attack, but frontline units aren't easy to come by on meta. If you inherit something like Avoid plus 20 and don't mind a few rewinds, she can be one of your more durable units. If you're going to try a dodge tank Lapis, which is fun, make sure to think about her support list. Since she needs to fight alongside someone to activate share spoils, you might as well make sure she's getting extra bonuses. Alir, Fram, Citrinne, Alcryst, and Anna all give her 5 extra points of avoid when adjacent. Lapis joins with the first smash weapon. These heavy versions of swords, axes, and lances push units back a square when struck in player phase. They have twice the might of their normal counterparts, but can't double. Additionally, when initiating combat, you attack last. Seems like an odd thing to give her of all people. She's fast enough to double, so why use a weapon that can't? Besides the utility of moving enemies around, Lapis can actually unlock some neat synergies on enemy phase. Her speed gets factored into her void even if she isn't doubling, and the great might-weight ratio helps for a unit with poor build and strength. On enemy phase, the enemy attacks first anyways, so that part doesn't matter. So you make Lapis a hero, give her a blade, and put her in front of a player phase unit like Alcryst. She'll have high avoid and almost never face double attacks if she can survive 3 hits as at least 3 enemies, and hopefully more with dodges. She'll do respectable damage back. Then you can heal her up, equip her hand axe, and Hero's class skill gives her double chain attacks to help clean up on your turn. That's not bad. It's also not good, if I'm being honest. The metagame is not kind to Lapis. First, it's really hard to be a great physical unit on meta. There's a scarce pool of resources that help units get there. Marth, Roy, 3 houses, staff boosters, top shelf forges, that half your army competes for. I'm sorry to say it, but Lapis isn't winning that contest on combat merits alone. Lapis has a lot of similarly statted competition. There's no shame in being worse than Chloe, but Lapis is in real danger of ending up without a single stat lead over her because of how similar their distribution is. Alir is also threatening to be strictly better, although Lapis is normally a hair faster. Moreover, I spent the Alir and Chloe analyses trying to convince you that neither want to be a physical combatant. Lapis doesn't have another option. She doesn't have main character privilege or good magic. If you see Lapis as the generic knockoff version of suboptimal builds and better units, it's hard to get excited about investing in her, and at best she'll end up taking Boucheron's spot until you get units with better stats across the board in just a few maps. That came out harsh, wow. Too often, people only look at Fire Emblem units with this kind of unforgiving eye. I'm aiming for a more complete perspective. Lapis the character is a fan favorite. Cute, more relatable as a scrappy commoner than the princes and nobles she's protecting, and a certified badass in many supports. Engage has a lot of characters with comedic eccentricities, who play those quirks for laughs in a good-natured way. I think Lapis is a great example. She's not funny because she's a basket case, she's funny because she has relatable insecurities contrasted with unrelatable hypercompetence. If you're feeling generous or even a little biased, you can easily flip my earlier logic on its head. Instead of seeing a few elite units like Chloe's making Lapis obsolete, you could instead think of Lapis as a cool, hipster alternative to them. There's no numerical reason to use Lapis over many other units, but there's also not much forcing you to use someone else just because they have 3 extra stat points over her. If her supports are fun, or her color scheme pops with Roy are sufficient justifications for a spot in your army, I know they're good enough for me, Lapis won't let you down. Citrinne is the Brodian mage, and like many future recruits, she mirrors her predecessor Clan's stat spread to differentiate them. Clan had everything he needed except magic. Citrinne has unparalleled raw power, great res to tank on the magical side, and terrible everything else. She'll dive an axe so much as gets in her general vicinity, she's slow as molasses, and she's frustratingly inaccurate. She comes out of the box able to do chip damage like Clan did. With a frontline unit to bait enemies, she can attack foes without being countered and set up kills for someone else. That's fine for now, but we're aiming for more from our units and doing a half an HP bar per turn. If you build her like Alcryst, that's all you can hope for. She's less bulky, doesn't have Luna, and can't one-shot flyers. In Engage, however, frail mages can aspire to greatness. A good start is to get her doubling something. She's slow, but you only need her to have a good target on each turn. She doesn't need to double everything. Alternatively, if you don't have the resources to spare and don't mind a little rigging, you can give her the Olwen S bond ring, which makes Thunder always double. That falls off as Thunder becomes obsolete, but without an emblem you have few better builds. Either way, Citrinne does a lot of damage with one hit, and with 2 she's normally able to reach kill thresholds. She'll thrive on player phase, beating up on slower units with high defense that units like Chloe often struggle with. She loves the speed boost Mage Knight's ability gives, and she's excellent using engage attacks with 11 Sword, but I think Citrinne also thrives in Sage. Mystical units get some neat emblem synergies that add value to your team, and staves are a great thing for a situational player phase unit to have. It feels to me like her cannon class. That mix of utility and firepower feels like an extension of what she's doing right now, supporting other people with her talents. A unit with a personal called Generosity, who gives away private islands on a whim, probably wouldn't mind someone else taking the spotlight, right? Well, sucks for her. She's great in the spotlight if you turn the tables and shower gifts on her. If you can get her doubling everything, with Bondage Shield you can fix her bulk, and she becomes a goddess of war who can solo half a map in one turn. Doubling everything is a long way off from doubling one thing most turns, though. Citrinne's not just a tad sluggish, she's arguably the worst combination of speed and build in the game, save Vander. Lucky for her, Engage has crazy speed support. Requires heavy investment, but as soon as Chapter 12, it's possible to stack something like 15 points of attack speed. Due to how the emblems and inherits shake out, it's easier to give a unit a bunch of speed than it is to give them some mix of speed and magic. Citrinne's stat spread is a lot better for enemy phase sweeping than Salient's, for instance. Salient has no easy path to close the huge magic gap. It's hard to say Citrinne isn't worth those resources. If she doubles and one-rounds everything, Bondage Shield can protect her from damage, and then you just hold forward and win. You'll never have to worry about enemies not targeting her. That paper-thin bulk actually comes in handy. There are a few easier foundations on which to build a successful maddening campaign. She's not the best mage for this job. As I may have mentioned once or twice, Anna's not so hard to train, and is basically faster Citrinne with excellent dexterity. Other mages get good bulk, and so they aren't so reliant on Bondage Shield. Some magic users can even fly. If you're planning to have a one-woman army, it's nice if they don't get stuck on terrain. Despite all that, it feels ridiculous to say that a unit doesn't steamroll the game quite as well as someone else. At some point, isn't enough enough? Citrinne's one of the hardest units to rank on a one-dimensional scale. She needs some kind of help to escape just doing chip damage, whereas units like Saline thrive out of the box. With enough help to double something, she can be an effective player phase unit with a grab bag of tools who accommodates your other plans well. This is her forte relative to other good units. If you want her to be a superstar, make her double everything, and she'll dominate the game 2 L-fires at a time. There are a few units who dominate the game even more, but it's hard to complain about your best unit being slightly suboptimal. As I said with Alcryst, and as you might be piecing together, I'm a tad Brodia biased. I think Citrinne's voice acting and supports are fantastic. She's more interesting than the shallow, obnoxiously privileged noblewoman you might mistake her for at first. If I had to rank her, I'd be generous. In my book, she's well within the top 10 of Engage units, and it's hard to go wrong by deploying her.
Prince Alcryst, Citrinne, stay back. I'll handle this. I can knock down anyone who stands in our way.
Lapis did not get the memo. We want Citrinne to take damage. Disguised Javelin is my ticket to Micaiah XP.
Allow me to dazzle you. I claim this victory.
Hey, I needed that damage. We just started, so I'll reset.
Care to join me?
Citrinne, calm down!
Please forgive me.
Okay, finally. Oh, come on. You would think it wouldn't take 3 resets to get the outcome that happens 88% of the time. Moving on. The start of the map is supposed to introduce you to smash weapons. The lance fighter opposite Lapis is on protective terrain, but you can move him off it. He's coded to never dodge attacks, so the player learns how smashes work. If you know that, there's no point in getting him off protective terrain. He makes a great punching bag as is. Alcryst gets the same one-shotting flyers introduction Etienne got, minus the clean 100 hit she had in Chapter 3. It's still a 95% chance accounting for Engage's true hit rate.
Yes, here.
It's a good thing that didn't force another reset, right? Oh, it did? Hopefully my luck improves. We can just barely get another hit in with Vander.
I'm at 100%.
Lapis's blade is great for Micaiah. It lets us get her damaged even when she deals the lethal blow.
Sorry about that.
Citrinne brings the very useful Thunder, which Saline immediately uses to take damage from resonance while weakening the armor. She has favorite food, so we can engage early. The Three Houses bracelet's gonna have to wait until the final turn. Alira's keeping the Levin Sword, which she uses to do more damage while cantering far away from her start.
Whatever you
Yunaka,
need.
say it with me, gets damage from Micaiah XP.
What a lovely scene.
A right and proper end.
Your steward's ready.
Fram uses Obstruct to create some space for her. In addition, the Javelin user now has only one square to attack Yunaka from.
Here I go.
Would you believe, after all that, I forgot to engage Micaiah? The second Citrinne crit really tilted me, okay? If I needed perfection, I'd have to somehow get a damage unit to the west of Citrinne. A mere 64 XP is fine by me. Alfred checks out an interesting guardrail.
We've had such a wonderful time playing together, haven't we, Divine Dragon? Speaking for myself, it's been lovely. So I hope you don't mind, but I brought a friend along to join in the fun.
That's an emblem. But how? How is she here without my summoning her?
Look at your face! You silly Divine Dragon. Did you think emblems were just a you thing? Not by a long shot. Yeah, it's a pretty cool trick, huh? I'm so glad I'm able to use it. And it's all thanks to Lord Sombron powering up this ring. It's called the Ring of the Princess Exile. Am I right?
That's one of the rings my mother was protecting. Give it back!
Yeah, not gonna happen. It's Illusia's ring now. But if you really want to see it one last time, come a little closer. I'll give you a good long look.
That emblem is a formidable foe. Nearby enemies can join in her attacks. We'll have to be careful.
With that obstruct in my placement, the enemy movement is deterministic. Lapis can preview our strategy for Hortensia squad right now.
Now's our chance.
Lapis is supposed to say that line when she dislodges the original Lance Fighter, but it's truer now. Because of that pulse I did earlier, I know that Fran would dodge his attack in my old Order Aid, so I realize I can get her injured now.
Emblem Engage.
It's almost like I had a plan with Alfred. That's a lot of momentum, and I like having references on the map I can use to set them up, hence the gargoyle. You don't need Lapis's smash if you position Vander up a square, but I like this setup.
An invitation?
2 weak 1/2 range enemies? Did someone say 5-person men?
I'm starting to feel it.
In my rehearsal, I let Alear tickle the mage with a Levin sword, but now I'm giving her the kill.
This ends now.
Vander makes the men cross. Chloe can use the rapier to cleanly one around the calf, activating the entire group.
It's just like my fairy tales.
Saline can use Recover, which has a high base XP, useful for units trying to get above the level curve.
Was that too much?
Anna instead heals 5 units at once for 76 XP. Eti is holding her back.
I live to fight again.
The fly movement here is a massive headache. Normally I'll use the 3 houses emblem to more reliably player phase these units, but I don't have time to recharge that engage meter in 7 turns. We'll need to instead wall off the flyer we can't kill so they don't murder anyone on enemy phase. Alear and Alcryst protect Lapis and Citrinne.
Yeah!
I can't believe I did that.
You can use the poleaxe here to do more damage, but with Citrinne I don't need it. There's actually a small difference in my rehearsal that I messed up. Ati is more important for the final turn, so she should get to go ahead instead of Citrinne. Alfred and Saline can team up to one round of Flyer, while Chloe handles the other one. Break defenses comes in clutch. One of the interesting things about planning I've learned making this series is how I need to iteratively work backwards from the end while playing each practice run forwards. To play the final turn, I need to play the previous turns. But to play those turns correctly, I need to know what I'm doing on the final turn. I can take extra turns during rehearsals to shuffle units around. I only beat this map in 7 turns once before recording. But it takes several iterations of that process to make sure I know what my goals even are on turn 1 or 2. This map's especially challenging for that because of the split down the middle, which forces me to make a binary choice for most units.
I'm getting hungry. I won't let you do what you want!
With a twice-forged dagger, this archer is no match for Yunaka. Now that my army is split up, great sacrifice is best.
If this means survival,
Already to level 9. Fram heals her up, always good to make sure she doesn't need another heal before using Great Sacrifice again, although here it doesn't matter. Because Alcryst can one-shot the Flyer, it doesn't matter how much damage Alir does. He can take the kill with an iron bow.
I'm sorry.
My Alfred positioning was another marker. That corner is exactly far enough away to do a full movement snipe of the monk.
I will protect you.
In my rehearsal, I used Warp Ragnarok on the Flyer, but I realized afterwards I didn't need it. Maybe enemy targeting will make Saline able to handle this? Punished for my hubris, unfortunate. I can at least get another recover.
time to open up shop.
With a line formation, the number of enemies that can attack any of our units is reduced. Chloe's in range of an archer and flyer, yes, but she's got over a 50% chance of dodging at least one. I believe in her. Let's see how that goes. Okay, she'll dodge the flyer. So much for that. It's worth a rewind to me, especially if you gave her Mercurius, but your mileage may vary. She was the last person we moved, so it's easy to fix. I keep Chloe out of range. As I said in my Yunaka analysis, doubles and crits can't fix bad base damage. Same for Alfred. This is another example of me working backwards. Once upset 7 turns with the target, Anna needs to be on an energy tile this turn. That means she has to be deployed near the top and beeline here, and it means I need to figure out how to keep her alive this enemy phase. Yunaka guards her flank, and Fran chain guards. Now that we're all still breathing, Alcryst takes out another flyer.
I'm still alive? Huh.
Our mages do a much better job against the armor.
I beg your pardon.
This is about where I realize why Etienne being out of place matters. She's out of range here.
Here until the end.
If you see the Engage attack banner, that's her aggro range. I think I was looking at the wrong part of my notes. It's not important here, but I'm showcasing a lesser known fact. If an enemy can't move back the one tile after being smashed, for whatever reason, they'll be broken. Even armors, who normally can't be. We can't necessarily beat everyone this player phase, so we just have to make sure the foes left alive can't kill us.
Me first! I will not forget your loss.
Nailed it!
In some setups, Alfred can attack and canter to the energy tile, but in this scenario, I just have to let him rest before his big charge. I try to squeeze out a little extra XP by using Great Sacrifice now. Can you figure out why this was a mistake? With Saline healed, she can't recharge Celica with favorite food. Managing HP is more complicated than you'd think.
Emblem Engage!
It takes me a little bit to figure out how I need to handle these circumstances. Chloe couldn't dodge the Archer of Flyer, which led to this cat being here, but there is a nice way to deal with him. Obstruct. He's walled in on 3 sides already, so this makes him a sitting duck. The Archer's on a protection tile, which is annoying, but usually isn't so bad. I do spend another rewind after some bad RNG. As I figure things out, a creeping dread looms. The last turn often needs several rewinds. Can't waste all of them. If you're interested in Schadenfreude, you can see palpable effects of that anxiety in my play, reminiscent of Chapter 5. I like to think it adds to the content. There's a ton of variation in enemy movements, and I think it's hard to play this map without some amount of improv. There's a couple key events you can play around, the first override, the turn 4 energy tiles, and the penultimate turn, where we need everyone to be in extremely specific positions to make the final turn work most reliably. Everything in between can change, and often has to, but as long as you have a clear goal, you should normally be fine.
Looks like I broke him.
I've hardly distinguished myself executing my strategies, but that's why I build in margin for error. There's one last rewind for the RNG on the final turn. I had a couple misses. Sometimes Anna gets more XP using Mend here, sometimes it's Great Sacrifice.
I have no choice!
I like Great Sacrifice first because we make it to level 10. A total 9 turns of Micaiah is all she needed. Before the fireworks begin, I want to explain why I've set things up this way, and how you can apply the same reasoning to achieve your own goals. You need a 6-movement unit who can wield either the Iron Blade or Iron Great Axe and survive Hortensia. Vander's our only candidate for that, but some teams might have an Avenir Alfred or Sword Griffin Chloe that makes this much more reliable. Whoever they are, they can start from many potential locations. Alir can just barely reach Rosado or Goldmary with the Levin Sword, after which she can canter adjacent to where Hortensia is now and provide divinely inspiring support. For maximum reliability, you can instead have her attack Rosado from the west and canter south 2 tiles to support Vander's attack. Alfred's set up for a max momentum override. This square is a useful landmark, it's 11 tiles away, and 10 is the momentum cap. Yunaka has 5 movement, so she's able to use Raging Storm on Rosado starting from a few potential squares. Raging Storm will let Rosado attack first. Make sure your chosen wielder isn't being one-rounded. Chloe would also work, but Alfred's not always up to the task. Raging Storm gives Yunaka a second action, with which she can use Houses Unite on the boss. Saline and Anna don't need to be in a particular location. Everyone else, if possible, should be positioned so that they can advance the RNG if things go sideways. Keeping a unit alive is quite useful for that, as here even Alcryst can attack someone, but that won't always be convenient. Instead, I've set up the few 3-range attacks and the sole remaining 5-movement 2-range attacker. That's Etienne with the longbow, Citrinne with thunder if I traded it back to her, and Chloe with the javelin. You can wing it with less backup than this, but if your only lethal attacks aren't the right RNG, you're stuck. Vander missed the first time, so this attack was necessary. I think this will be the last Vander deployment. Despite my frustrations, we couldn't do this without him.
Emblem Engage.
Time for Alfred's turn. Wait, gotta remember which order I need. I'm playing scared now. Rewinds are dwindling. Now, without further ado.
I'm going to ask you nicely. Please die.
It's your lucky day, cutie. You get to fight me.
This may be the most satisfying override of Engage. You can get longer ones, but they're usually generics. Alfred's hitting 3 bosses. When possible, I'm going to send my units off on a high note. This is Alfred's last map as a main cast member, and so he gets to be the star of the show. Not everyone will get such a glorious encore. Etienne weakens Goldmary. The way it worked out, she actually does just enough damage for Alir to finish the job.
Up close, you're only half as captivating as I thought, Divine Dragon.
That's what you care about here in battle? Let's just settle this.
No. You're horrible. That's it. I'm leaving.
Alir hits level 10, and she can canter next to the boss. Whisper, attack, and vitally inspiring, that's 5 less strength our boss killer needs. When I said canter on Alir was the best thing you could do in the Somniel, I meant it. Yunaka finally shows off her jewelry.
You're dead.
Kaboom!
Now I've done it.
And she gets to move again.
I'm sorry, Hortensia. I have to retreat.
Please grant me your strength.
Warp Ragnarok makes this kill consistent without counter on Alir or a Yunaka Strength Tonic. You can instead use it for Goldmary's kill if you want that to be more consistent, but as things work out, I don't need either. That means we actually do route the map.
Grant me strength. I want to help you. I won't give up.
Before the map's over, Anna takes the victory lap. The XP won't even matter because it'll get reset when she uses a seal. I suppose the SP is nice.
Yunaka here.
Yunaka gets plus 5 damage from Alir. Halved and rounded down, that's plus 2 damage per hit. But in total, it's plus 6. It's just enough. Lots of level ups. Hortensia's squad is quite high level. And that's the ballgame. It feels great to finally see the victory screen. During preps, I always just restarted the map once I saw lethal damage. Alfred's MVP one last time.
This is so frustrating! Rosado! Goldberry! All soldiers, retreat!
They fled in a hurry.
There's a lot of damage to the bridge. It may take time to find a safe path forward.
We didn't recover the emblem ring.
We didn't lose any either. And most importantly, you're not hurt. Let's call that good enough.
You're right.
It is plain now that Queen Lumera's stolen rings lie in Illusia's hands. In which case, we can deduce that they possess 5.
5?
Yes, counting the rings taken from Lethos Castle. The rings of the Sage Lord, the Azure Twins, the Instructor, and of course, the Princess Exalt. Princess Hortensia was wielding the latter, as you'll recall. Besides those 4, there was one entrusted to them by your forebears.
Which one?
If I may, I believe it's the Ring of the Lady of the Plains. The king favors it, or so I've heard. He keeps it in his personal chambers.
His chambers? That's odd. Fyrne's ring has a hall in the castle all to itself. Where does your kingdom keep its ring?
Like Fyrne, we store ours in a special gallery in the castle. Speaking of which, how soon might we be able to depart? I really am worried about the situation there.
The soldiers should be back from patrol soon.
Let's prepare to leave.
Thank you. If anything has happened to my father or brother, I don't know what I'll do.
Phew, that chapter was intense. After eating our veggies, next map's dessert. We'll meet a new emblem ring and my favorite unit in Fire Emblem. Stay tuned for that.
Take that! Almost done. That's the last of them. The village is finally safe. But it's still not good enough. I have to be strong. Strong, just like you were. I still miss you so much. And I think about what you said to me all those long years ago. Where are you, sister?